All right, it's 3 p.m. Good afternoon, everyone. A very warm welcome to today's panel discussion brought to you by the HR Association of India. At HRAI, our mission is to create platforms that connect, inspire, and empower professionals through meaningful conversations and shared learning. On behalf of HRAI, I extend a warm welcome to all our participants to today's discussion on this insightful topic, the Great White Collar Disruption. Are we ready for AI's workforce revolution? First and foremost, our heartfelt thanks to our esteemed speakers for joining us today and contributing their valuable perspective to this panel discussion. Dr. Kavindra Pant, Vice President HR at Shapoorji Pallonji Energy Private Limited. Mr. Jogendra Singh, President and Group CFO at Hero Enterprise. Mr. Sirish Kalamkar, Chief Technology Officer and Head of Innovations at 3i Infotech. Dr. Sanjeev Rastogi, Head Group Policy Services at Adani Enterprises Limited, and Mr. Gopalji Mehrotra, CHRO at Hindustan Power. We are truly honored to have such accomplished leaders with us, bringing their expertise and experience to today's discussion. To know more about our speakers, you may follow them on LinkedIn. Their profiles have been shared in the chat window. For more information about HRAI and our upcoming events, please refer to the links shared in the chat window. Now it is my pleasure to introduce our moderator for today's session, Mr. Gopalji Mehrotra, and invite him to take over as we move into this insightful and engaging discussion. Over to you, Mr. Gopalji.
Thank you, Faisal. I hope I am audible and visible.
Yes, you're audible and visible.
Thank you. So good afternoon and welcome once again to the participants. I think it is fitting that this session on AI's workforce revolution and the disruptions which are being caused by AI and the impact on the knowledge workers. It's only fitting that it is being hosted by none other than HR plus AI. Oh, I'm sorry, I meant HRAI. So getting in a bit of context, what is AI? It is a bridge between data, language, and reasoning. It is a transformation in cognition and has arrived not as a trend, but a turning point. It is an inflection challenging how individuals work, learn, and grow. But as technology accelerates, human responsibility must also deepen. The age of intelligent machines must also be the age of more intentional humans. Essentially, we must preserve what is essentially human. And I feel that societies and organizations that will thrive, not only survive, but thrive. They will be the ones that will leverage technology, but along with amplifying humanity. Now, how do we do it? What are some key questions around it? For that, we have eminent panelists who will regale us using their wisdom and experience to answer some key questions about this AI disruption to the white collar workforce. With that context, I would like to put my first question to Mr. Jogendra Singh. And the question is, AI is often described as a job destroyer. But could the bigger disruption actually be the redesign of jobs themselves? Which white collar roles do you think they will fundamentally change rather than disappear?
Thank you, Gopalji. This is absolutely a wonderful opportunity. And the question is very, very apt in my view. And I personally think that job destruction is less interesting part of the AI story. Job redesign probably is going to be far more consequential. We need to talk about jobs. Normally when we talk about jobs, we say these are sort of indivisible kind of units. So if you're an accountant, you're an accountant. If you're a lawyer, you're either a lawyer, you're not, or you're an analyst, etc. But if you really look at it, a job is truly a bundle of tasks, and AI does not necessarily automate the entire bundle, so to say. It begins by taking away certain tasks, amplifying some others, and creating entirely new ones. So it's a sum total of all of these, which is what is being done. And this distinction is very, very important. There was a very recent BCG survey in 2026 itself, that talked about, that in US, 55% jobs could be reshaped by AI. In India, this may take a little more time, but the trend and numbers would not be very different. While elimination, would be a much smaller share in that sense, the BCG had concluded AI will reshape more jobs than it replaces. And I think this is very important for us to truly understand. In the survey, which is titled as AI at Work, they have looked at almost about 12,000 workers across 14 markets. And they say that 72% of people have said that AI has already changed the skills expected in their role. And even more interesting, 47% say that they now spend more time in managing and directing AI than actually doing the underlying work. And this is a very important shift, so to say, doing the work to directing the work. Fundamentally changes what truly job means. Look at finance. If I give an example, because I'm a finance guy, so I'll just start with that. The accountant is not going to disappear, so to say. But the accountant who spends over 60% of his time in reconciliations, preparing schedules, explaining routine variances, etc., would definitely will or probably will. I think today and going forward, more important roles in finance would be, and we would be spending more time on scenario modeling, on exception management, on business partnering, on capital allocation, risks, and judgment. So the story would be recording to interpreting to predicting to explaining the past and influencing the future. More importantly, is influencing the future, and that's where the role of AI also becomes very, very interesting. The same applies to law. AI will draft the first version of contracts, summarize precedents, conduct, sort of document discoveries, look at case laws, identify clauses, etc. But when you sit on the table and negotiate a complex deal, you understand the commercial intent, you understand and persuade the counterparty, and deciding how much legal risk can an organization take. I think that's a completely different ballgame. So the lawyer also moves from retrieval to judgment. Same thing would be software developers. Coding becomes cheaper, while engineering judgment becomes much, much more, important. So what is that becomes scarce, so to say, when you have AI, the artificial intelligence is there. Not the information, but the insight. Not the analysis, but the ability to ask the right questions. I think that would become much more important. So in my view, AI will not necessarily eliminate professions. It will hollow out parts of the profession and then rebuild them around higher value human capacity or capability in that sense, and that's very, very interesting. As intelligence becomes cheaper, judgment would become much more valuable. Information becomes abundant, which is it is, today. The insight becomes a much bigger quality. It becomes scarcer. Content becomes virtually free, as it is today. The originality, comes at a premium in that sense. So therefore, impacted, but this would probably be more around redesigning the work. And there is, I would, talk about this from a different perspective, of course, and where I worry about. Uh, let's say there was a lot of junior work that the accountants were doing, the lawyers were doing, the software developers doing, and by doing that junior work, their expert journey started. So, question would be, the lawyers were learning by researching cases. Young accountants, when we all started, we were doing all kinds of reconciliations, etc., and that was how we were, slowly becoming experts. Analysts started with building models. Programmers, were to start with writing some codes, etc. But today, if that work goes to AI, where will tomorrow's experts come from? I think this is something that we have to really worry about. So, in my view, basically, the biggest workforce disruption from AI may not be that millions of job titles would disappear, but would rather be what constitutes scope, excellence in their job would change completely. And organizations will have to understand that distinction and redesign work. And those organizations who don't simply automate, without looking at this aspect, would probably be automating yesterday's organizations. So that's how I would put this.
Thanks so much, Joginder. So that's really why you were invited to be first, because you answered some of the question, but you raised multiple questions, which will add to the beauty and richness of the discussion that we're going to have. Thanks for the example regarding accountants and lawyers. If I pick up one thing, and I'll pick up multiple things from what you said as we go along. Maybe the first thing I pick up is the human plus AI capacity. So my question to Kavinder here will be that the way Joginderji described, so much percentage of the tasks being done by professionals today, if that is going to be better done or taken over by AI, then how do we approach workforce planning? Should it be in terms of number of employees, or should we look at combining the human and AI capacity in our workforce planning? Over to you, Kavinder.
Yeah. Thank you, Gopalji, for a lovely question. And it is more of a loaded question where we have to look at predicting the future as well. So, primarily, my thought is that when we talk about the human capital, primarily the talent should also be taken as something which is as similar to a financial capital as well. Uh, the way we are anticipating, the way it is working, because ultimately whatever technology comes in, we have to look at it from a perspective of that what will be included and how it will be executed, and execution usually happens from the talent perspective. So my take on the question is, now since AI is a reality, though full-fledged AI will take time to get incorporated in the businesses full-fledged. But what we have to look at is we have to look at from a mindset of headcount to a mindset of building up the capabilities, that what is the role, because AI certainly will be reshaping the roles. The roles will be there, and we have seen this in past when technological advancements have happened. The automation of banking sector and the telecom sector has happened. The things have changed drastically. The same way, AI is also reshaping the jobs. So where what we have to do is that what kind of capabilities will be required probably in next 3 to 5 years, and how we are going to work towards either building or buying that particular capabilities. Since the jobs will be reshaped, so we have to upskill and build up those capabilities in-house as well. Otherwise, what will we do with the current workforce what we are having? That is one aspect of it. Second is we have to look at multiple business scenarios over the period of next 3 to 5 years or 7 years. Like what we did was and this is more industry specific. Currently, we have done implementation of AI in our business. We are a heavy engineering company where we look at taking using multiple softwares and putting into a complete plant for construction. So when we do it out there, we take PNIDs, PFDs, and take it into the smart plant model. So earlier, it used to take almost around a week to check that particular smart plant, whether it is correct or not, whether the wall sizing and everything is correct or not, because any small error can cost us millions of dollars of rework. So what we did was we introduced this particular tool. We had to develop it because nothing was available uh, on off the shelf. So we developed it. What used to take around a week is basically being done in 15 minutes. So that is something what is the technological advancement which is happening. But how we have to implement it. So now since we are in a phase of developing, we have also started working with our teams to build up their skill set to use the tool. So that is something what is my take on this. Then second important aspect, we have to build up the workforce agility. That how agile is our workforce, whether we can redeploy it, reskill it, upskill it, or whether we have to get it from outside, or whether we have to outsource a particular role. So that is how I have looked at when we were doing the manpower planning for any of our projects. That what portion is ready, what portion we need to reskill, upskill, and what we have to basically offload, where we have to buy the talent or rather not even buy, where we have to rent the talent in terms of the business needs. So that is the second important aspect in the manpower plan or the workforce planning aspects. So as I already said that AI has changed the work, which Joginderji also rightly identified. But it has not just changed the jobs, but it has changed the work. So since the work has been automated in at the entry level or the mid level kind of a thing, and the routine work has been automated. So we are factoring it into our manpower plans, that how resources can be utilized in a better way where the work has been done. And this is not for the first time we are doing it. When we have implemented SAP, there used to be at least around 5 people managing the payroll. But now payroll is just a click of a mouse. So those people have been utilized in some other way, trained, monitored. Some people move to the admin part of it. Some people move to the operations part of it. So that is my take on it, that it will be reshaping, and we have to include that how work has been impacted while building our workforce plans and workforce management. Back to
Thank you,
you.
Govinder. Thank you. So you highlighted two important points. One was about capability development, and the second was having two categories of employees, what will stay and what will possibly move out. So the capability development, if I can throw that question to Sanjeev, and the one about categorization of employees, I'll come to Suresh. So Sanjeev, my question to you is, Kavinder spoke about capability development. In other words, we keep hearing this. Hey, employees, please upskill for AI. It's almost thrown out there, on the table.
Yeah.
Jo karna kar lo. So question to you is that who bears the responsibility while this disruption is on? Is it the employee? Is it the employer? Is it joint? And whoever is not able to cope up, then what happens to that part of the accountability? So over to you, Sanjay.
No, thank you, Gopalji, and very learned fellow panelists and all the participants. Good afternoon. So I think my take is very clear, and that's a philosophy we are following in our organization. One is that we cannot ask the employees to transform themselves when the organization itself is transforming using AI. So that's a pretty unfair ask from the employee perspective. Secondly, I think it's a joint responsibility, both the employer and the employee. It's very clear because we can ask them to upskill, but the organization has to give the platform, has to provide the training and the learning skills that the employee has to go through. And we are very clear that we need to upskill. I think your question was uh, that there are two kinds of training we are planning to do. We cannot say one would be AI literacy and one is AI expertise. So AI expertise will lie with the team which is implementing AI or doing a transformation or leading the projects. AI literacy will with the employees who are going to embrace this AI, who will get the impact of this AI and they're going to embed in their day-to-day working. Because not everybody will become the AI expert. So that is very, very clear. So not everybody will become an AI engineer, to be sure. And the other thing which I would say that it's not that you learn or you leave. I think that's not the philosophy we are implementing. We are saying uh, every worker, there are 5 questions we are saying that you should know. What AI will do to your job, what AI is going to impact your job, uh, what your role will change. You need to understand the entire process and the cycle and where it will be human in loop, human on loop. And so the only challenge I think with the HR folks and with us is that every individual is different and they will transition into AI at different level of speed. So we need to be patient. We need to understand that what level of literacy, what level of involvement each level in the organization will have, and we'll have to map out people. What we see is in our organization, practically we are implementing something in our Jogendej is there in P2P process or in O2C or reconciliation process, that some of the works around 40%, 60% will move out. But what we are saying is that we need to upskill and give them different level of work, which is more analytical, more information. And there's enough of work in the organization to upskill people to do different kind of work and upskill them. So AI will automate processes. AI will automate transaction and activities. It will not completely take out. But what it will do is it will take the level to a value creation, to more analytics and more data converting into information. And I think that's where there's a need to upskill and it's a joint responsibility. Both needs to work together. And we need to make sure that people who are going to embrace this are AI literate and the company does the investment. And it's not that you learn or otherwise you leave. It's not a kind of a mandate. It's important that we embrace them and work together as an employee and an organization. So that's my take on this.
Excellent articulation. Thanks a ton, Sanjeev. So, fully agreed that it's a joint responsibility. But what you also described, that while the employer is providing the training, in your discourse, it also seems like that, there is inherent categorization of employees taking place. Somebody is AI literate, somebody is an AI expert, somebody is leveraging AI, somebody is his jobs getting taken over, more and more automated, if not completely taken over. Again, agree with you that because it's a joint responsibility, the same people will stay in the organization. But this categorization has taken place. So question to Sirish. Now, is this a form of a new workplace inequality? And if it is, then, how do we deal with this?
So basically, yeah, this is going to happen, bound to happen. Take an example, we cannot compete with the Gen Z, whatever the technology adoption the millennials or the Gen Z are doing. Probably the prior to that, definitely we were not in a position to take that kind of a stand when that quick learners kind of a thing. So it is definitely it's a most important leadership challenges around the AI now. So what we can always think of a kind of or it is bound to happen that there will be a kind of at least 2 tier of a groups definitely will get created. One is basically AI for as a force. They're the who understands the AI in a wiser way or can use it, they becomes a kind of a force multiplier. And another group is whose job is going to become a kind of a more automated, and then they haven't been given an opportunity or sometime the confidence to adopt it. But then it doesn't mean that we need to slow down the AI adoption as such. It's rather we can democratize the usage of AI into the organization as such. And to be very frank, organization at organizational level, we need to play a very AI as a kind of a literacy program, which earlier panelists has already made it very clear that it is a kind of a joint responsibility. When I'm sure when Mr. Joginder ji passed out the or he became a chartered accountant. In 87, I'm sure, Mr. Jogendraji, you must be using your financial accounting on the books that read big registers as such, right? Then Tally came, then SAP came. But I think your proficiency haven't changed. I mean, you were equally good during the books when we were managing the books manually to the Tally, and today with sophisticated ERP, maybe Oracle Financials or maybe our SAP or maybe a Microsoft Dynamics, any kind of a thing. So over a period of time, it is a transition where we literally opted that particular transition, and AI is going to be there. Some people definitely will opt it very quickly. Some people may take some time, but it is a transformation. One cannot really avoid it. So whatever challenges, when I'm sure when Joginder ji, you were there when Rajiv Gandhi became a kind of a, when definitely you must be a college student or say, everybody used to say the computerization era will take away so many jobs and all. What actually happened in India? Rather, it has created more jobs because of the IT enablement, and that was a transformation. If we would not have opted for the IT transition at that time, probably we would not have been the workforce leader in IT today. Though, so basically, those kind of a things definitely we need to. Uh, I really don't know. Somebody's. Uh, so so ba- so basically, these are the things one has to kind of an optate. It's a transition, and definitely there will be a kind of a change of the job will definitely happen. Some, as I said, some will opt it very quickly. Some may take time. So this is what my take on this particular thing. Over to you, Gopalji.
So
Thank you,
I
Sirish.
would, Gopalji, if with your permission, if I may add, uh, primarily what Sirisha said is absolutely right, and the kind of transition our generation has seen. Probably even the newer generation, the younger generation has not seen that. Right from the right examples, what Sirisha said, right, writing the books of accounts on a register with a pen of paper, doing all the calculations with a calculator or manually. And now the same generation is using the latest smartphones, the latest MacBooks or laptops or computers, whatever. But ultimately, it is the need,
Yeah.
because if and it is the fittest of the survival. If we do not upgrade ourselves or learn the new technologies, we'll certainly be outsmarted by others. The same goes for any generation, where
Any
the
generation.
technology, the change in technology is happening at such a fast pace. Every 3 months, where it used to take at least around 10 years to change change of a technology, now it is happening on a monthly basis or 3 monthly, every quarterly basis. Technology is advancing and changing. So
Yeah.
ultimately, everyone will have to upgrade
That's
to
opted.
the new
Yes.
technology
Yeah.
and
So
learn it fast
correct,
to
correct.
survive.
Kavindra again, I would like to, as you mentioned it very correctly, that our generation has seen a lot of transition as such, manual to automated and to the sophisticated technology. But no one taught us how to use Facebook or to anyone, how to use Instagram or how to use the LinkedIn or how to use the WhatsApp. It came automatically as such. It's a kind of a, it became a part of our life nowadays. I don't see that when think that anyone is not using WhatsApp on a daily basis or hourly basis. So we are so used to it, and I'm sure AI transition will also take place in a similar way. the co-pilots and all are assisting. The people are now, I'm sure many of us may be using even co-pilot to write the emails, which becomes our richness into our languages. Earlier, everybody, if you see about 6 months back, the way people using the chat GPT, or about when it got introduced, it used to be look like the words are coming from the Oxford kind of a thing, like mails are written by Shashi Tharoor. But now if you see that, it become more personalized. It is your behavior. It is capturing. So it is literally whatever the grammatical small mistakes we are doing, we can get it corrected with Copilot, or we can get it corrected with the AI tool as such. And it is really making us rich in performance. And I'm sure, adoption, it's just matter of time. Maybe some people may do it very quickly. Some people may take a little while, but yes, it's a transition. Sorry, Ben, go ahead, please. Yeah, thanks.
So lovely thoughts, Kavinder and Sirish. Kavinder, thanks for reminding all of us on this panel that we belong to the unsmart generation. We were all born before the smartphones came along. In fact, this morning I was addressing CII conclave in Madhya Pradesh, and that's why I'm sitting in a hotel lounge. You see these nice curtains behind me. And the question I was asked is, you belong to Gen X, I belong to Gen Z. So I said, young lady, first of all, stop. I mean, don't make it like an accusation. As if Gen X, the X stands for extinct. So, so anyway, coming to books of accounts was referred to. And so that brings us back to Mr. Joginder. See, books of accounts were maintained primarily to tabulate profit. And the task of business still remains to generate profit. But to generate that profit, the employees are forever told, perform better, be more productive. Now, if it is not the employee, but the technology which is actually making the gains in productivity, as you just established, 30 to 70% of the task can be given over from the employee to AI technology. Now, in such a scenario, but productivity gains are happening. So how do we sort of share in the spoils? Should we have smaller teams? Should we have shorter work weeks? Should we have higher compensation? But I'm in HR. अब काम कराया है, फायदा हुआ है, तो share तो करना पड़ेगा.
Yeah.
But here it is not getting attributed to the employee, it is getting attributed to technology. So क्या करें? Joginder ji, your ideas, please.
I think that's a very interesting, very interesting, question actually. And this may become one of the biggest management questions in the AI era that we are talking about. And thanks, Suresh, for letting us, go back 40 years. But well, today we are looking at what we have today, and we have to deal with it. And I think all of us are very adept at that, or trying to be adept at that. But now the question is, supposing the employee says, I have saved 20% of the time. So first question is, who owns that 20%? The company, the employee, society? I don't know who owns that 20%. And I don't think the answer can simply be that we need 20% lower number of people. That would be, in a country like India, economically very unimaginative, so to say. At Work talks about a very interesting data point. It says that frontline employees who regularly use AI, 42% of them said that they have saved at least 8 hours every week. And when I say 8 hours every week, means one full day on a week. But have the companies figured out what to do with that time that we have saved, and convert it into some kind of a value? So therefore, basically, this creates a very extraordinarily, complex challenge in my view. If you really go back in last few decades, 3 decades or so for sure, I remember that we have always been talking about how do we get more productive. Hmm? And we were doing a whole lot of things, whether it was, on a shop floor that you were doing the SMAD, SMED kind of, things. And they were, the industrial engineers would look at time and, motion study, things like that. So this was a question, how do my people get more productive? But now the question is, once AI has made us more productive, and Gopali, you talked about it in your opening statement. Today, the question is, what do I do with it? So my view is that we look at it, in a few stages. So number one, we have to identify what are the genuine inefficiencies, and we take out those, genuine inefficiencies, for sure. And as a finance guy, we have always been looking at and emphasizing on cost optimization, and it always meant reducing cost, actually speaking, to be very blunt. And there's nothing wrong in reducing cost. If AI can automate, kind of repetitive processing or eliminate duplicate work, or you need a smaller team to perform the same activity, I think you cannot ignore the opportunity of cost reduction or people reduction. Because the capital has to be very productive. And it has to be very productive because you are competing in a very competitive market. You are in a market, and this is a place which is very, very competitive. So if some productivity gains will come, you can translate it into some smaller teams for sure. But in my view, this is the first definition and not the final definition. That's something that we need to really understand. Number two, in my view, what you should do is reinvest this productivity into growth. Now, this is something which is very important in our companies. We all talk about. So let's say we have an insurance broking company, within our fold. So we say, okay, well, now we use AI, and there's a lot of work, that was being done by our field, team. So whatever they could do in 7 days or 6 days, now they can do that in 3 days or 4 days. So you have 2 days extra or 1 day extra, whatever you say. Even if you say 1 day extra, what else can you do? And what else does not mean that, you give them unnecessary work. I say, what is the growth work that you can do? Can within the same market that you operate, you can go to different dealers. So we do insurance of two-wheelers. So apart from insurance of two-wheelers in the market where your dealers are present, there would be another, so let's say FMCG kind of, people. Can we go there and try and find out the opportunity of growth in tapping those markets? That would be where you reinvest the productivity into growth. I think that would be, if you do that, there would be no need for cutting head count in that sense. So this is something you'll have to really see what is it that you can do with these people which you were not able to do earlier. So give me an example, you were analyzing customers, let's say in a steel manufacturing company that we have. So we were analyzing sample of customers. Instead of sample, I said, can you do 100% of the customer profiling can be done? Or if you're running 5 scenarios, can we run 50 scenarios? We were giving personalized service, let's say in the real estate, business. Instead of a few businesses, few customers, can I give this to 1,000 customers or maybe 10,000 customers? How can I shorten my product development cycle in that sense? So those are the economic questions probably you will have to really think of. There was a study by McKinsey which talked about that there's an opportunity of creating $4.4 trillion of work in the long-term productivity, from the long-term productivity potential. So which means there would actually not be a requirement of taking people away. There would be requirement of more people who would take this, or maybe use this 4.4 trillion opportunity into actual. Third thing would be, of course, you said, can you share this dividend of time saved or effort saved with employees? Because I have seen some employees have got busier with the mindset of organizations that if AI has reduced your time, or let's say increased productivity by 30%, my expectations rise by 40%. So we are wondering why people are burning out. So that is something. And fourth, I think is very important, which is what Shirish also talked about and Kavindra talked about, reinvesting some of this dividend into the capability. I think that would be truly very important. We say buddhir balvatam balam. Intelligence is the strength of the strong. So therefore, we have to really see, where do I really use this? So truly this would be a combination of efficiency plus growth plus employee benefit plus capability building, that would give you. And there was a beautiful comment actually by McKinsey in one of the reports that I went through some time ago, if I can recall it, talked about the firms that treat this movement as headcount problem will shrink to fit it. And this will be a huge strategic mistake, and a very huge strategic danger. So therefore, if I give you technology capable of making your organization more productive, and your idea is to reduce headcount, you have converted a growth technology into a cost cutting tool. I mean, that is something which you have to really feel away from. So therefore, we have to really see what new value can human beings create with the time AI gives back to them. That would be the moot question I would look at.
Thank you, Joginder. Let's pick up on this shrink to fit. And with that, I would like to turn to Kavinder. And the question is that, what is the impact of the disappearance of the apprenticeship ladder? What I mean by the apprenticeship ladder is that, traditionally, lots of entry level people joined. They were told what to do, they were shown what to do, they did it. And they used their own creativity, curiosity, they improved themselves, their skills, the processes, and the organization grew. But now we're seeing that the entry level, and especially the people who adopt to technology much fast, they are the ones getting much faster, impacted much faster by the very introduction of AI technology. So the entry level is sort of it's got displaced. Joginder talked about that processes and tasks are getting automated. तो फिर सिखाएं कैसे, बढ़ाएं कैसे? Now, fine. That is something we have already spoken of, but I'm saying, but if this continues for 5, 10, 15 years, and the entry level itself is wiped out, the task before HR always has been that you generate the leadership pipeline. If you don't have an entry level, you don't have an apprentice, how do you get to leaders? Any of your views on that, please?
Yeah, this has this, I call it as a hidden risk, because when we are looking at primarily the people who are not getting the entry level jobs are being taken by automation or AI, though there is a very thin line between automation and AI. So that's a hidden risk, that when people are not exposed to situations or those challenges or the environment, they will not be knowing. But that's a hard reality. Because if I'll again go back to the history, when the manual work was happening. So when the manual work was happening, people were taking on board to do that manual work. But when the automation happened, people were taken at the entry level. And the entry level has changed, moved slightly up. And then they were being trained as operators of those machines. Like the physical labor when in construction, when the physical labor was there, which had been taken over by JCBs and things, you need to upskill those people and you need to give those people that particular environment where they were being trained on the new technologies. Similarly, all of a sudden, especially in Indian, after the invent of TBMs, tunnel boring machines, what happened? There was no skills. There were no skills within India. Initial people were brought from outside along with the TBMs. People was trained along with them and then build on it. This I'm talking about some of the niche skills. But when we talk about the leadership pipeline, what happens? How people learn? Because everyone aims or dreams to be at the leadership level, but very few can actually reach within an organization or within multiple organizations as well to reach that particular level. Anyone who had been in your batches must not have reached your level, or somebody may have reached that particular level.
I would
They are
suggest if
being
you can
exposed to.
just uh, disable your video for few seconds, because I think there is a internet connectivity is very unstable.
Okay, I'll try to close my video and then see.
Yeah,
Is it better now?
much better.
Okay. So the
That by
way.
that by the way was a contradiction. Huh? I'll close my video and then see. Chalo, koi baat nahi.
But I can still see. So the leadership, yes, the number of entrants at the entry level will be less, but the entry level itself will be elevated to the next level. That is something which is how we have to look at it. And then the development starts. Those nitty-gritties at the ground level, they'll not be able to understand, but they'll be able to understand the next level of uh, environment and the challenges. That's where the people development and the situational leadership will come into picture with the environments they have been managing. So, and it will keep on happening with the advancements of technologies. So that's my take on it.
Thanks for your take, Kavinder.
Gopalji, I just
Uh,
would like to give one
y-
small
y-
example here. I mean, basically, I mean, day-to-day life or whatever we have seen in our life. Now, take an example. I mean, it's nothing to do with our this technology and all as such. So, see, when we probably started living in apartments, probably the apartment used to start from first ground floor, then it reached to the first floor because ground floor used to be a parking. Now it became a 4, 5 floors are just podium and parking, and we start living from fifth floor onwards, kind of, or more than that rather. So it is that particular our job will start from that particular level. So wherever they start, it's a starting point. Probably for Jogindarji to start his career was to start writing with the on the book with the pen paper calculator, whereas the new chartered accountants, they straight away come with the smart tools and all as such. So that is their entry level, and then of course they will excel in their leadership as they grow with the experience. But of course the business experience will always they will gain from day-to-day exposure to the environment as such, just not a technology. So this is how it is going to happen. It is going bound to happen in this way.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing that. And if I may pose a last question to Sanjeev, why I'm saying last is it's about 3:49. So if Sanjeev can
Yeah.
answer this one more conundrum for us so that we have at least few minutes for the audience interaction. So Sanjeev, what I want to ask you is based on something you had said earlier. So we have these AI learners, AI leveragers, AI experts. Now everything seems to be oriented towards AI. What about roles or people, with those uniquely human skills, judgment, empathy, relationship building? With so far we are saying AI will not be able to do. So what is the place of those roles and people with those skills in an organization which is getting extremely AI focused?
I think a very pertinent question. I think the roles will have so I think we are heading for a cobotic workforce. And what I mean by cobotic workforce, I already see when I presented my business case to Gautam Bhai. So we have frozen our headcount for the GCC for 5 years, and we said the number of agents or RPA I use will triple fold, and my headcount will remain flat. So as a group, we are growing more than 30% year on year. Currently, we manage, Joginder ji is my mentor here, senior. So we manage 900 legal entities, 13 listed entities, 26 different businesses. And we acquire a company every 3 months. So the kind of growth we are managing, it will be a cobotic workforce. So for the people you talked about who are this thing, I think their whole thing will change. Their metrics would be very, very clear that quality of decision, the insights they bring on the table, the problems they solve, the innovation they bring, the teams they have enabled, and the risk they have avoided. I think one thing which is very, very clear in the AI is ethical and assurance. And I think with our group going 3 years back, the Hindenburg and everything, I think one source of truth, assurance is very key. And in finance, I think one set of truth, and you're dealing with people's money, you are listed entities, so that's important. So I think the metrics will change. It will not be number of hours into number of people is equal to output. It will be decision, insights, what innovation, what speed, what agility you bring. And finally, it will be measured in terms of value created. Uh, and so I call it 4 E's in our. So one will be efficiency you bring. One is the effectiveness, the experience you have changed, which will lead to excellence. So that's what I see the new role for all the people would be. And it's just not the human output or the productivity.
Thank you so much. And my gratitude to the panelists. I mean, you really brought forth your wisdom, your judgment, your experience, many key questions, equally excellent answers. With that, I am throwing it open to the audience. Faisal, I will need your help. I think the audience is on mute. What's the protocol for anybody who wants to ask a question?
I think, Gopal, what
Yeah,
we
so
can do
there's
is there are some questions already on the chat box.
on the chat.
So
Room,
probably
Okay.
we can just take that. So I can see the first question. If you're fine, I can take that first question.
Go
And it
ahead, go
says,
ahead. Yeah, I'm just
yes.
going through the chat box. I was
Yeah.
focusing more on you people rather than the
Yeah.
chats.
Okay. So it says as AI becomes embedded in everyday, decision making, how do we ensure that leaders don't become overly dependent on AI recommendations? What should human judgment remain non-negotiable, especially in decisions involving people? And I would say not only decisions involving people, but also decisions involving cold business calls as well. You can't really ignore the judgment, the human capabilities, which we were talking about in the last question that Sanjeev was talking about. My formula, for this is very, very clear. So I say AI plus BI plus HI is equal to DI. So what is it? So this primarily means the artificial intelligence with business intelligence, with human in the loop. That is what creates and gives you the decision intelligence. So AI plus BI plus HI is equal to DI. That is how I would really look at, because even today, even though I can talk about the hallucination, in AI has reduced significantly, but it's still there. The bias would always remain because you don't know on what kind of data set it has been trained. So therefore, there would always be that validation agent. And while we were talking about, in finance, the single source of truth, we always look at, when I work with agentic AI, let's say for that matter, in any area that we do, I always say that apart from the working agents or an analytics agent, you should always have on top of that the validation agents. So validation agents are truly relooking at all the data and making sure that the numbers match, and there is no nothing kind of a variation which becomes which brings in some kind of abnormality or a different a trend which is abnormal in the data set. So that would always remain. So in my view, you cannot take as on today, as things today. I don't know what happens in artificial intelligence 5 years later, but I would never take this on its face value. I would use it for data analysis, but human judgment and validation would be a very strong necessity, not recommendation. I'm saying it would be a necessity to do that.
Well, I'll add
Just
it here. So AI enabled answer, to be very frank, on all any kind of a question would be, what can we do? And if it is a kind of with the human being or human intelligence, what should we do? So that makes a lot of difference, that it becomes a kind of a human oriented decisions will be more powerful than the AI. It will just suggest you, but it is what should we do? That is really important factor in making a decision.
So I agree.
So thank you both. We have another question on the chat box. I'll just rephrase that and make it smaller. So if AI is learning faster than humans, and we are always trying to play catch up, so if those skills cannot match the speed of AI, what do we hire for? Do we hire for adaptability, agility, or we continue to hire for skills?
so, Gopalji, I would like to attempt that particular question. Uh, the way we have been hiring across the periods over the period of time, we have always been hiring for skills, because ultimately you have to look at the current business scenarios, and you have to build up your capabilities to meet up your current business scenarios. But we always look at the potential. And now, in the current scenario, adaptability and the learning agility is the key. That how fast the person can adapt to the new situations, and how fast that individual can pick up the new skills and the new traits. Because since the technology is changing so fast, I'm sure that every organization in past also hire for current and looks for potential, so that he can take up the journey ahead during that. So that is what adaptability, learning agility is something which is key in today's scenario, and with the fast changing environment around us. That's my view on it.
Thanks, Kavinder. Sanjeev, did I see right that you were perhaps reaching for the button? Did you want
Yeah,
to
I
add
think
to this?
I echo what Kavinderji just said. So this year we again had huge amount of chartered accountants on the campus, because we do hire for skills. You can get an AI enabled person, but as I said, the lower level jobs, the transactional jobs, the repetitive jobs will get automated immediately, and as we see. But the skills you always require to do a better higher-end value creation jobs, and that will require functional skills. So you can't replace functional skills with AI skills for sure. And if you have to move up the value chain, whether it is finance, procurement, HR, or any activities, you will still require skills and not AI literacy, because anyway you are going to invest with the existing people which you have hired and not let them go.
Thank you very much. And with that, I am at the end of my skills as a moderator. So Faisal, back to you at 3:59.
Thank you. Thank you, Gopalji, for guiding today's discussion with such confidence and expertise. Your experience and thoughtful questions brought depth to the conversation and helped bring out valuable perspective from the panel. Thank you to our esteemed panelists. Your perspectives added tremendous value to today's discussion. For those eager to learn and grow, the recording of today's session is available on our YouTube link shared in the chat window. Thank you to all our participants for being part of the session. Your presence made the discussion even more meaningful. We look forward to welcoming you to our next session on the topic From AI Assistant to AI Agents. Are organizations ready? On September 3, 2026. With that, we conclude today's webinar. Thank you for being part of this journey. Take care and farewell for now. Thank you all. Thank you, Jogendra.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shri. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so
Thank you,
much.
everyone. Thank you, Jogendra.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.
Bye bye. Bye.